There's the Duro Max Hybrid XP4850EH dual fuel unit. Runs on liquid propane or gasoline. Here's the Duro Max Hybrid XP4850EH. It just came in. 3850 watts. Peak is 4850. I've unboxed it. I just actually cut the box apart. And it has a shipping container. This is underneath the bottom. Comes with a wrench. And you undo that to free up the generator. There's no oil in this yet. That block goes in here. Comes out of the frame to unbolt that. This particular generator doesn't have any oil in it yet, but it does come for LP. So here's the LP connection. Here's the regulator over here. It's very similar to the size of the Predator generator that's Harbor Freight sells, but this comes with LP. It's also for gasoline. Okay, over here this comes with a 12 volt battery, rechargeable. It's non-spillable. It's 20 ampere hours and it's not connected up yet. Here's the relay. Comes with a starter too. It's got a duplex plug. It also put out 120 or 240 main breaker, voltmeter. Puts out 12 volts DC. Here's a low oil alert and the start. The engine over here says 7 horsepower. Okay, this engine's 208 cc and the certification for EPA is 125 hours. Here's the alternator down under here. This is the same size frame and everything as the Predator 3250 unit. Here's the air cleaner on the side. Here's the overhead valves. And this is the gizmo for the natural gas. LP, excuse me. Okay, we're going to look at the side here. Again, here's the LP connection. This is the regulator that takes the high pressure LP and drops it down. And it also has the demand device here. It senses a vacuum on here. And this is the unit on here. This is the gizmo that connects up to the carburetor, the venturi area. This is the prime button that you hit to let a little bit of gas in. Once it starts, you have a vacuum on here and it'll get the flow going. So this is hooked up to propane. Of course, this is the regular air cleaner on here, just like on the Harbor Freight one. Looks like the carburetor here is a HUAYI, and spark plug is down in here. Of course, this is a Honda clone, Chinese motor. It's all made in China. Over here is the starter motor and the solenoid. I've got this thing upside down just for a few seconds. This battery you can put in any orientation. It's the same frame. This came with a wheel kit too. So over here it's got wheels in the arm. It comes with the axle. The axle was kind of buried inside here when I opened it up along with the instructions. Okay, the manual and the tools that came with it. Came with a whole bunch of cool stuff. The bag's kind of flimsy, so you may want to get another bag. It comes with the 220 volt plug, 110 volt plug if you don't have one, 12 volt, Phillips screwdriver, and of course the dreaded deal to take off the spark plug and the little rod. And then the instructions here, it tells you to remove the board. So it does have a board that you remove. Comes with a little wrench here, which is kind of nice. It's just 4 bolts, so it's not flopping around. It also tells you to fill it with oil. Here's the board that you take out. Shipping brace. And the instructions over here It's got the specs: 7 horsepower, 8-hour run out times, 4 gallons. It's got a gas gauge. Pretty thorough. Schematic's kind of hard to read. If I had to enlarge it some. It's got the Dupex plug. There's a 120 volt plug, and it's got 2 breakers that are, I looked at 13.5 amps, which is the same as the Harbor Freight, so maybe this is about the same wattage as the Harbor Freight. And here's the switch that you can change the configuration on how the sockets are wired. It's got a rechargeable block here because you've got the starter motor and the battery. You got the coil here in the field, and you got the AVR exciting coil, and you have brushes. Here's the main output coils that come up and combine for 240. And actually in here it tells you how to go through and replace the brushes on one of these sheets to take off the rear cover. This is the Duro Max Hybrid XP4850EH. Runs on gasoline or propane. It's got an electric starter motor. It's 202 cc, 120 volts, 240. I'm going to put the key in here, and I'm just going to go through and hook this up. It tells you when you first get it to, you know, you may not be able to start on this because depending on how long the thing's been stored up, so you may have to use the recoil starter over here. But I put just a tad bit of oil in here. Let me just goose it and see if there's enough power to just start this off. So it'll crank, it'll start over, which is cool. Unplug this. So this is basically like the Harbor Freight Predator, but it includes a generator, which they actually use sometimes on the Honda kits. And it's got a battery start, got the start switch, 120, 240, and it includes the regulator over here for LP gas. So you can run this on gasoline or propane. Holds 4 gallons of gas. Got a gizmo in here to read the level. It's got warnings here to remove the block. Also warnings to make sure you put oil in it before you start. It's got a fuel valve here, on off. Got the same type of air cleaner. Here's a choke level. 7, 6.5. This is probably the same size as the Predator motor. And I got this because it already has a regulator on here for propane. I may try this on natural gas too, just as a kick. That might be an experiment, even though it's not high pressure. Here's a switch for fuel on off, recoil start. There's the air filter, and the tube. Here's the gizmo for the propane regulator, and down in here is where it feeds into the carburetor. Okay, I was trying to get in to see exactly what they're doing. This is the vapor line that goes in right in the carburetor area. It's real difficult to see what they're doing. Looks like it's a special carburetor they've got, and they're feeding it in right around where the choke area is, probably right in the venturi. Of course, this is where we put the gas in, 4 gallons. This is the vent on the gas tank that connects up to the air cleaner area. So if you've got any pressure buildup or anything, it'll go through with the air cleaner and be burned up in the engine. Okay, the wheel kit here, it's got the 2 wheels. Look at there, it comes with a funnel and a tube. I could have used that earlier. It comes with the wrenches. Here's the handles and the instructions. Cool. Now I've got this black bracket flipped around the correct way so it's perpendicular. Who makes this engine? It's Chongqing. Okay, we're just going to look here with the engine here. It's a Chongqing Maifeng, CHONGQUING power machinery, 208 cc. Emission compliance 125 hours. Family name ECM GS208 1GA. The 208 is a CC. I probably butchered this name. It's Chong Qing, QUING MAIFENG power equipment. Of course, it's made in China. Got the cotter pin in. I'm just going to lightly bend this over because I may just take this off a little bit later. Not going any road trip. There's a cotter pin on. The reason I didn't put the cotter keys on too well, here's the washers you can put on them. I'll take them off and put those washers on the axle. Okay, we're going to put one of the wheels on. It says to put the valve stem out, but these are flat free, so there's no valve. You go ahead and put a washer on there. Wheel on. And another washer. And put the cotter key through here. I'm going to bend that over. Had the washers not on first, but I wonder if it's probably better to have them on a little bit to take some of the slap out. So I'm just going to bend the cotter key over. Not for highway use. Do-do-do-do. There we go. Okay, going to put a handle on. There's two handles. Slips on here. Like that. Put a bolt through. Put a nut on the back. There's a handle on there. These are kind of like self-locking nuts, sort of. Probably should put some thread locker on there if I use this a lot. Handle on. I put this on the other way just so I could tighten it up easier. Now I'm going to put the gizmos on here. The front feet. Who knows if this should go up or down. Got the two wheels on the back here. I've got the front legs here added on, tighten it up. Okay, I've got the rear tires on, the front legs, got the one handle. I'm going to put the other handle on in just a second. Okay, there's the last handle I put on. Fold down. That's where the brushes are. There it is. Pretty light to move around. Wheel kit really helps. Again, here's accessories. You got a plug for 220 volts if you want to use it. Keys, spark plug wrench, of course. 110 volt plug in case somebody doesn't have one. This is very convenient to have an oil spout. This is the propane gasoline unit. The Duro Max Hybrid XP4850, and it was bought off eBay in a fire sale. They had one of these on sale for $440 or something a few weeks ago, so I nabbed it just to mess around with for some backup power. Came with the battery and the starter motor. Pretty amazing. It's about the same as the Harbor Freight Predator 3200 4,000 watt unit in size, in capacity. The The continuous power in this is supposed to be 3850, but we'll see. I think that's kind of optimistic, but I really don't know since I haven't really fired it off yet. We'll find out. A lot of times those are, take that with a grain of salt, but we're going to find out when we fire it off later on. Okay, the Duro Max hybrid here, XP4850EH. The switch on here real quick is 120/240. Normally it's in the 120/240 thing. This connector you get out a neutral and two hots. Across the two hots you got 230/240 volts at 13 amps. And that's because the two stator windings here, L and R, are connected up in series. Now when it's in this position here, the two coils are in parallel, and you've got to a neutral and a hot, you've got 26 amps at 120 volts, but you don't have any 230/240 volt service. So what they do is they've got the standard winding on here. You've got the R winding and the L winding. Each one's 120 volts. They've got them either in series parallel, depending on how the switch is set. And they've got here the breakers tied together. They're both 13-14 amp breakers tied together as a pair. And so when you've got this in 120, you've got the 213 amps going through here to give you 26 amps out of here at 120 volts. So you sometimes use that for RVs. We'll use that. Okay, got the brush AVR compartment back together. And then this is not in English, I'll translate. This is caution, jackleg YouTuber may burn fingers, carbon monoxide, keep safe distance. There's the muffler. So you never want to run these things indoors or even in an open garage because you get carbon monoxide poisoning. And this has just got like a thimble full of gas or oil in it, so I can turn this thing up on its side because really have really no oil in it, so it's not going to be a problem cranking it off. This is the Predator 3200 watt unit from Harbor Freight. This set of duplexes on one side of the windings, 110 volts. This set of duplexes is on another stator winding, and they're in series here to give 220. You get 13 amps out of here, 13 amps out of here at 120 volts. You can get 13 amps here at 230 volts because they're in series. Over here I've taken the end bell off, and one of these is one of the 110 volt windings. Here's the other one, that's the other 110, 120 volt windings, and they're in series to give 230 volts, whatever. And if you want to hook these in parallel, like there's another brand, Duro Max, they have a switch on here that you can switch back and forth, and then the plug can make out to be at 120 volts, the sum of the two, which is 26 amps at 120 volts, like for an RV or something. And what they do is they're taking both windings and putting them in parallel with the switch that toggles back and forth, and that's on the Duro Max. So if you want to retrofit one of these, you can, but you'd have to either put another jack in here and then connect the windings, so instead of there being in parallel, you can connect them so they're in instead of series, you connect them to be in parallel and disable the 230 volt gizmo. Now on the Duro Max, what they do is they use, when the switch is in one position, you've got 250 volts, and when you put it in the other position, you get 120 volts just like before, but then they're in parallel, so you get double the amperage, 26 amps. This is the AVR that's on here. The brush is on the Harbor Freight over here, and this is the 3200 watt unit. This is the ball bearing, it's on there. I just pulled this off just to show the two windings. These are the two stator windings, and they're in series right now for double the voltage, 230 volts. If you want to put them in parallel, you can, but you'd have to rewire this so that you've got have them in parallel. Sometimes people do that for RVs because you just have a 120 volt circuit and you want double the amperage.